Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and we've got some major updates for the channel and then also for the 200 series Land Cruiser. We still own this, and I just finished part of the build that I'm doing on the Land Cruiser. I'm really excited for this build because I hope that a lot of people actually copy this build. As weird as that sounds, you'll understand once we get into the video. Before we get into this video, I do want to give a big shout out and thank you to Doug and Connor with Elite Vinyl Works. They're the ones that put this whole build together, so I really appreciate it. I'll put a link to their website in the description down below. Basically, if you're looking for window tint, PPF, or other sorts of modifications on a vehicle and you live in Utah, reach out to Doug. Let's get into the video. So let's start things off by going over the 200 series build, and I think this is a really solid overlanding build that is actually very affordable, and you guys will see as I go over the different elements. Now, the first part that I think is completely unnecessary, that is not on the affordable side of things, is the paint protection film. So you guys probably remember this Land Cruiser was green before. That was colored PPF. Doug and I were just trying it out to see how well it would hold up. Not a very good product. This is what I've done on all my other vehicles, is just satin PPF. So the Land Cruiser is black. This just makes it satin with the finish. And then we also blacked out stuff like the grill. And sorry, the car is dirty. I've been driving it around. I probably should have cleaned it before this video, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, it's got that cool blacked out look, and because it's a Heritage, right, the headlights and everything are also already blacked out. And if you're wondering, the black paint on the 200 series is actually really cool because it's got a lot of metallic flake. I don't know if it's going to pop up on camera with the gloss finish. Yeah, it doesn't pop up too well, but basically it gives the satin finish here. Here's actually a good shot in the sun. It's kind of popping up on camera. It gives it a little bit of a sparkle. It is pretty muted, but it looks really cool overall. Again, completely unnecessary. What I've said to people is, if you are going to do a lot of off-roading, like in the mountains where there's lots of trees, and in the desert where there's lots of brush, where you're going to be constantly going against things, and yes, full body PPF will pay for itself in just a few trips, because repainting the entire side of a car, or an entire two sides of a car, is extremely expensive. It's a lot more expensive than just doing full body PPF. But if you're not going to be doing that, just do PPF on the front end. It's actually very affordable to get PPF put on a front bumper, the hood, and then the front fenders of a vehicle. Now, the next part of this build is the tires and the wheels. Now, I think wheels are completely unnecessary for an off-road build. Stock wheels are more than fine. I did these aftermarket ones because I just wanted a cooler, more aggressive look. Ridge grapplers from Nitto is the tires. So the point in this part of the video is all-terrain tires. That's all you need to add for your off-road build. You don't need to do any suspension mods or anything. This is completely on stock suspension, and pretty much every single vehicle built in the late 90s and above has more than enough ground clearance to do most off-roading that people are actually going to do. So just get yourself a good set of all-terrain tires. In my experience, these ones have been pretty good. I really like the Falken Wildpeak AT4s. I've got those on the Ineos Grenadier. Those have been great. I've liked BFGs. They're softer, they're more comfortable, they don't last as long. That's the one downside. Duratracs have also been great. There's a lot of good options on the market, but yeah, that's all you need to do. No suspension. You don't have to do wheels unless you really want the cooler look, but you just add some tires, makes the car look more aggressive, and this is also why you get PPF. These cats, man. And this leads us to the tire up top. Now, I'll talk about the benefits of this in just a moment, but I do want to talk about the affordability of doing this. Roof baskets and roof racks are actually very affordable with a lot of cars. As long as you have factory roof rails or crossbars, it's super inexpensive. Like this Yakima roof basket that comes with the Heritage Edition from the factory, it's something like 500 bucks. I looked it up on Google, and you could probably get a used one for even less. And you're already have a spare tire, right? So all you have to do is just buy an extra all-terrain, spare wheel is what I meant. So all you have to do is buy an extra all-terrain tire, and boom, you got a spare tire, you pop it up top. Y-straps are really affordable. So this is an affordable way to get the tire in a better location. And the reason I bring this up is a lot of off-roaders, especially the Toyotas, have an issue with departure, and the spare tire definitely doesn't help. So moving the spare tire away from there is really beneficial. And the solution with a lot of aftermarket companies is to either do a hitch carrier, which is a little bit on the more affordable side of things, but gets in the way of opening the hatch. You constantly have to swing the tire out to open up the hatch. Or the more expensive solution is aftermarket bumper, and then you've got the holders on either side, you know, one for a tire, one for jerry cans. And again, very expensive setup, and it gets in the way of the hatch, whereas that cat, this is a lot more affordable. It is a little bit harder to get the tire down, right? You've got to be a little bit on the stronger side of things, be able to climb up there and then be able to toss the tire down. But again, it means that I can use this as a regular hatch, and I don't have to worry about constantly swinging something out, and I also don't have to spend thousands of dollars in the form of a bumper and carriers and all of that. And the other benefit is there are now a lot of aftermarket companies that are offering extended fuel tanks. Basically what this looks like is you add an additional fuel tank. I'm going to be adding that to this car in the near future. Now those aren't dirt cheap. They're anywhere from about $1,000 to $2,500 depending on how big you go. But that is a benefit of taking away the spare tires. You can throw extra fuel, get extra range off-road if you're willing to spend a little bit more money. And this is now where we get into the section of the video where I explain how I am a super genius. So here's the deal. You guys probably noticed that the rear end of my Land Cruiser is sitting pretty high, especially compared to the front end. And that is because this is a Heritage Edition that, well, it's a 2020. Slowest hatch on the planet. Just wait for it. It'll take 2.5 years. No third row. So the third row in the Land Cruisers weighs about 200 pounds, give or take a little bit. And we're going to close this. So that means that the rear suspension isn't as compressed as a Land Cruiser with a third row. Now that extra gas that I just talked about full weighs just over 200 pounds, a little bit more than that, a little bit more than the third row. And so it's actually going to level out the Land Cruiser. And so that's another thing that you can do is if you get the right vehicle and you take things out, or, you know, in this example, get a version that doesn't have a third row and it normally has a third row, then that allows you to kind of stabilize the payload and everything to where you don't have to get aftermarket springs, you know, HD springs to be able to work with the build. Now the next mod that this car doesn't have quite yet because they're in back order is rock rails. I'm not doing the step sliders. I know those are really popular in the Land Cruisers. I hate how they look. They are the ugliest things on the planet. I understand the practicality, but this is not going to be a lifted vehicle. Getting in and out's very easy, so I'm just doing traditional rock rails, and they're also more affordable. Skid plates is something else that you can add that's affordable to a vehicle. Again, if you're not going to lift the car a crazy amount, which I just don't think makes sense, you get skid plates so that if you do hit into something, you're protected underneath. And so if we add everything together, minus the cat chilling there up top, you can get a roof rack, roof basket, $500, $1,000 there. Your tires, let's just say, plus the spare, you're $1,500. So let's just say $2,000 total so far. Rock rails, you're another $1,000, so $3,000 at that point. And let's see if you get a few skid plates, so you're $3,500. $3,500. And you would have an extremely capable vehicle. Again, most vehicles built late 90s to today are super capable when it comes to the off-road tech from the factory. They have more than enough clearance. You just have to be a better driver. I think a lot of people lift their cars crazy amounts and all that kind of stuff for off-roading, do crazy suspension because they're just not all that great at driving. And so if you know how to drive the car, then you don't have to have 20 million inches of ground clearance to be able to clear stuff. And like I said, you don't have to buy a 200 series. I understand the 200 series is a little bit more of an expensive vehicle. You can do this with a Bronco. You can do this with a Wrangler. You can do this with a 4Runner. There are so many vehicles, a 100 series Land Cruiser. There are tons of vehicles that are more affordable than the 200 series that you could do this moderate off-road overlanding build, and you'll be able to get a ton of places, and you'll feel way better about it because you didn't spend, you know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a crazy overland build. Hello, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. Now I will say having a giant field is super helpful for having just different filming locations. And this driveway has been invaluable. I mean, right now we've got some gentlemen, you can see they're parked over there. They're working on our floors. We had a flooding issue. We're getting it fixed and all of that. And it's like they have more than enough space to do all their work stuff, and I still can get in and out easily. Like, this driveway is so cool, but also this was built like over 25 years ago, and so doing the same driveway today would be insanely expensive. That's why I like older homes, because they have stuff like this that is stupid expensive to do nowadays. But anyways, let's talk about the big update for the channel. I want to do more off-roading, and more specifically, more than just the reviews on press cars. I would say over the last like year or so, most of the off-roading on the channel has been with the press vehicles, right? The manufacturer loans me a car, and if it's an off-road package, I take it off-road and kind of give you guys some initial impressions on what that vehicle is like to off-road. But I want to do more off-roading with my personal vehicles. I did this earlier on in the channel. What that looked like is, you guys probably remember, right? The Raptor and the TRX. I did a bunch of jumping and all that kind of stuff, really pushed those vehicles to the limit. And I would say, like, I'm not going to take full credit for this, but I would say that I'm a pretty big reason as to why a lot of people take Raptors and TRXs off-road, because I showed that you can take those vehicles off-road, have fun with them, and still drive home and like not have them blow up. And so a lot of people now trust those vehicles more, and they're willing to do that. I want to do this again, but I also want to try to fix what I consider to be a broken market. And that market is overlanding. That's kind of why I talked about this more affordable build. People are spending way too much money with overlanding. There have been some YouTube videos made about this, but I think the problem with these videos is the people don't really show like a lifestyle with a more minimal build for the most part. And so that's what I want to show. I want to show that you don't have to go and buy a, you know, $50,000 4Runner and then spend another $40,000 in modifications just to take it down Forest Service roads, right? I want to show that you could, like, again, any of these modern off-roaders, they are so incredibly capable. And like I said, I know people are going to be crap because I'm going to be doing a lot of this in a 200 series Land Cruiser, which is an expensive vehicle, but you could do this in so many other vehicles that are a lot more affordable. And so my hope with this series is that it's going to get more people out into like the overlanding, car camping type world, but it's also going to show them that they can do so very affordably. Like, I'm literally going to be doing this with, you know, regular tents, sleeping bags, stuff that is very inexpensive to get from the store, not the stupid, you know, expensive rooftop tent and then awning and all. And I get like the quality of life stuff associated with that. It kind of makes it more like glamping rather than camping. I understand why people are attracted to that, but it also kind of detracts from the whole hobby and the whole idea of going and enjoying. Like, the whole reason why you go out into the wilderness is to enjoy, like, being disconnected from the world. But if you have this super high-tech everything while camping, it kind of is not so disconnected. So, yeah, that's a long way of saying that I hope that I will be able to convince you guys over the next 6 months to a year, just like what I did with the Raptor and the T-Rex when I took those off-road, that not only can you just go off-road with stock vehicles and do lots of, like, all these amazing trails, get to amazing places, no problem, with just some all-terrain tires, right? But also that you can do the camping side of things with just a few items. You don't have to go all out. You don't have to spend $40,000, $50,000+ on an overland build to go and enjoy the outdoors. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know if you think if it's worth it. And that's all. And also, I will have an update on this soon. We're at 24,000. Once we get to 25,000 miles on the 200 series, I'll let you guys know what the ownership has been like.